At my old company, we had this executive. We'll call him Richard, though you can probably imagine what I really want to call him. Richard was one of those people who lived and breathed politics. Not actual politics, office politics. He had a sixth sense for shifting blame. If something went wrong and there was even a 1% chance he could be held responsible, he'd already be 3 steps ahead, setting up someone else to take the fall. The man was a master manipulator. His voice was always calm, his smile always charming, but his words, they were daggers hidden inside compliments. And unfortunately, one day I was his target. The betrayal. It happened during a major project. We were working on a presentation for the CEO, a high-stakes meeting, one of those where even small mistakes could affect careers. I had prepared my section meticulously. Data was solid, slides polished, I was ready. But when the moment came, Richard swooped in. He casually rewrote key parts of my section the night before, without telling me. Then, during the meeting, he let me present it. And when the numbers didn't make sense, when the CEO raised an eyebrow, Richard leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and said in the most casual, condescending tone, "Well, I trusted my name with those figures. I'm surprised this wasn't caught." The room went silent. The CEO's eyes drilled into me. My credibility, just like that, was shattered. Later, I found out from Richard's own admin assistant what really happened. She was in tears when she told me. "She changed your slides," she whispered, "just so it would look like you messed up." Imagine that sinking feeling. The pounding in your chest, the heat crawling up your neck, the helplessness of knowing you've just been played. That was me. And Richard? He walked out looking spotless, untouchable. The long wait. I'll be honest, for a while I carried that humiliation like a weight on my back. Every time I saw him in the halls, my jaw would tighten. Every time he smirked during meetings, I wanted to call him out. But I didn't, because people like Richard, people at his level, rarely face consequences. So I waited, quietly. And then, years later, the day finally came. Richard announced his retirement. The perfect opportunity. When HR asked me to host his retirement party, my first reaction was pure irony. Out of everyone in the company, me host his farewell? I almost said no, but then it hit me. This was fate handing me the perfect stage. If you've ever tasted humiliation, you know the desire for vindication doesn't fade. It sits inside you, waiting. And suddenly, I had my chance. The plan. Now here's where the story takes a delicious turn. See, Richard was proud of one thing above all, his Ivy League education. He mentioned it constantly. It was his badge of superiority. But I remembered something odd from years ago. His university had once run a long-term study about body types and intelligence. Incoming freshmen, like Richard, had been photographed. Nude. Yes, nude. It was a real thing. Creepy, but true. That little piece of trivia became my weapon. I reached out to a graphics designer friend. Together, we created a massive poster. On it, a nearly nude man stood posing on a beach in nothing but a tiny Speedo. And right on top of that body, Richard's face, perfectly photoshopped, the kind of image you could never unsee. And at the bottom, the words, "We found your freshman photo." The big day. The day of the party arrived. The cafeteria was packed. Employees, managers, even other executives. everyone gathered to honor Richard's illustrious career. Richard walked in like a king returning to his court, grinning, shaking hands, soaking in the admiration. I took the stage. My voice was steady, but inside my heart was racing. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, "before we present Richard with his farewell gift, I think we should celebrate not just his years here, but his beginnings, his Ivy League days." A ripple of curiosity spread through the crowd. Richard raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. And then, with a flourish, I unveiled the poster. The Revenge. The room exploded. Laughter thundered through the cafeteria. People clutched their stomachs, doubled over, some nearly choked on their cake. And Richard? His face turned crimson. His confident smile cracked, then vanished entirely. I handed him the poster with a grin. "We found your freshman photo, Richard. Thought everyone might want to sign it as a keepsake." The laughter only grew louder. One by one, people lined up with Sharpies, adding their signatures and cheeky comments. Richard held the poster stiffly, like it might bite him. His jaw worked, his lips pressed thin, but he couldn't say a word, because what could he do? Throw a tantrum at his own retirement party? For the first time in his career, Richard had no defense, no scapegoat, no way out. Standing there, watching him squirm, I felt something I hadn't felt since that awful day years ago. Peace. It wasn't anger anymore. It wasn't bitterness. It was the sweet, deep satisfaction of justice finally being served. He had humiliated me in front of the CEO, and now, in his final moment at the company, I returned the favor, in front of everyone. But unlike him, I didn't destroy anyone's career. I didn't ruin anyone's future. I simply gave him a send-off he'd never forget. And judging by the look on his face, he never would.